Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my live. If you are catching this now, this is actually, maybe you're watching a pre recording. We're going to be talking about why is it that it seems like on college campuses that violence is increasing. Okay, we're going to be talking about that today. So I'm going to start in just a few minutes. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to see if anybody comes into the chat room, etc. But thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited. If you do not know, my name is Miss Asia from Miss Asia Educates. My name is Asia Davis, and I am a licensed former teacher, public school teacher. Now I have turned into a homeschool mom, and this topic has just been really running throughout all of my um, feeds and so forth. As far as like campus violence, I've I ran across um, a lot of different articles and a lot of different clips on TikTok and YouTube on hazing and all the other stuff. So I just felt like this was going to be like a very important topic. Okay, so we're gonna wait a few more minutes and then we're gonna not even a few more minutes, but we're gonna wait in a few moments and then we're gonna go ahead and get on into it. Okay, so let me go ahead and make sure I set up here. Um, Yeah, I think I'm actually probably gonna start in probably 30 seconds. So you guys can just wait around just a few more seconds for those of you guys that are in the live. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm super excited to see what is going to take place or what we're going to be learning about today. All right, so I was going to cut to the chase. So did you know that 82% of college students report feeling unsafe on campus? This number is staggering. Okay, so that means that majority of a typical college campus, go ahead and just insert whatever your favorite university is. It is football season, so whatever your favorite university is, 82% of those students feel unsafe. Okay, and it's not a feeling. The rise in campus violence is real. Okay, they're feeling it, from political violence to domestic violence to stalking to essay violence. Our kids are facing dangers that parents a generation ago rarely had to think about. Okay, and as parents that should immediately make us pause and ask, how do we protect our kids and how do we prepare them to face this reality? Okay, unfortunately this is a reality, and campus violence is something that we should not be playing with and we shouldn't take lightly. So like I said, by the way, my name is, if you are new here, my name is Miss Asia from Miss Asia Educates. I am a 10-year teacher, a licensed educator, and I am a former homeschool, well, not former, I am a current homeschool mom and the founder of Divine Learning and Publishing. I'm passionate about equipping parents with tools to help their children thrive in school, homeschool, and beyond. So we're going to go ahead and dig into that topic. So why violence seems unchanging? So you might be wondering, with all the awareness, technology, safety measures in place, why does it feel like campus violence just isn't improving? Okay, so here's the truth. Honestly, when you go to most campuses and you try to track their numbers about the violence and so forth, what is actually happening is that some campuses are over reporting because they have a really good safe system and people feel comfortable in the culture to report. However, when they go to other campuses, you might see less violence, but that could also mean that they have a silent culture, meaning if something does happen to students on the campus, a lot of people aren't talking about it or they're not as meshed. So sometimes statistics can't always be reliable on how violent or unviolent a campus is. So that's why it's important for us as parents to do the research outside of just statistics, but also, going on campus, visiting, figuring out what their security protocol is, all these type of things to make sure that your child is safe, and if they are in an unsafe situation, they know how to react to it. Okay, so yes, so that's why as parents we can't just look at, like I said, we can't just look at statistics. One campus could automatically be safer than the other. We need to dig deeper and ask better questions and prepare our kids no matter where they go. Okay, so if you decide they're in community college, university, or even private school, just because a school is private, that doesn't necessarily mean anything either. Okay, so now we're going to dig into the types of violence that's often found on campuses. Okay, so number one, especially with the news lately, political violence is becoming one of the bigger ones on campus. So tensions on campus are higher than ever, with protests and clashes turning violent with people in different political groups. We have domestic and relationship violence. That's something that's been prevalent in college for a very long time in general, because college people, they date, but however dating becomes toxic, and then we have violence from there. Then we have SA violence, which is also very, if you look at the numbers for SA violence, especially for women, it says 1 in 4 women will be SA'd on a college campus, okay, or a community college or whatever. It's a problem that just is not going away. So that means 1 in 4 women will experience SA violence on a college campus. Then we have stalking and harassment fueled by both in-person and digital reactions. Okay, so with those 4 types of main violence, and also I'm gonna also add in hazing. Hazing is a very big thing when it comes to campus violence. Okay, guys. Hazing has been a part of the sorority circle, the fraternity circle, a lot of times even in alumni and so forth. So there's different types of hazing that goes on within these campuses, and they're saying, hey, you say anything about it, you're not going to be part of this group, you're not going to have all these benefits on campus. And that makes a lot of college students very anxious. So also look out for hazing as well. And stalking has also increased as well. Just like political violence has increased, stalking has also increased. And that is a mixture of maybe someone likes somebody or something like that, and they're like following them, they're making them feel unsafe, they're trying to harass them digitally. Usually it's online, text message, and even in person this happens. And again, like the fact that there's 1 in 4 women that will be SA'd on campus, that is a huge problem that needs to definitely be addressed. All right, so now I'm going to pause here, because often I hear this idea in culture, especially on social media, that once your child turns 18 and goes off to college, parenting stops. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, that's a lie. Okay, that is a lie. The message is they need to learn the hard way and figure things out on their own. So I know if you have that mindset of, oh, once they're turning 18 in college, they don't need me or whatever, they don't need me to my input. That's not true. Your children need you as much as they do when they're 21 than they did when they were 16. Okay, especially when they're trying to navigate through life. Their brains are not fully developed till they're 25. They're gonna make a lot of unrash decisions, right? But at least you can say, hey, at least I told you, right? So it's very important that we guide our children up into adulthood and make sure that they feel that they understand how the world works, that they're comfortable enough with us to come with us with any concerns, come with us if they've been SA'd or whatever. Unfortunately, that does happen, but if something were to happen to your child, you want them to come to you first. You don't want them to feel like you're going to judge them or whatever the case may be. You want to be the first line of defense. So it's very important to continue parenting even within the early adult years, and don't hone back. If your children need to hear truth, even if they're young adults. Our kids don't just need us during the teen years, they need us just as much, if not more, in their college and early career years. This is a season where they are making major life decisions, relationships, career paths, and their safety. Okay? So, and for all of those who are Christians, God's word is clear. Older men are called to teach younger men, and older women are called and guide younger women. So that doesn't just stop when they turn 18. Parenting like I said, if anything, becomes even more crucial, okay? Because they're making a lot of decisions that can impact their lives. And if you notice, especially in my situation, growing up, I wished my parents, I feel like they were always pretty much telling you right and wrong, but it's like they kind of scaled back a little bit when I got in my 20s, just a little bit, and I was also kind of pushing back, and they were just like, oh, so you'll just figure it out on your own. And I just wish that they're still like wringing my neck, because there's so many decisions I made back then that I didn't have to make, right? And I ended up learning from it. I'm like, wow, I could have saved a lot of years of heartache and all this other stuff if my parents were just honest with me and they were just being parents, right? So even though your kids are older, do not give up on that, okay? Continue to be there for them, continue to guide them, give them truth even when they don't want to hear it, because at least you're doing your job as a parent. Okay, so we can't afford to throw our kids to the wolves. We just can't. When they turn 18, you're like, oh, you got this. And then all of a sudden they're dealing with all sorts of craziness. And then they also become more likely to be victims because we've pushed back, we've pulled away so much. These conversations about college career safety should start in late middle school. So even these different types of conversations about campus violence, essayed or stalking and things like that, your kids should kind of already be well acclimated to those type of concerns well into middle school when they can understand it. And then you should be continuing to talk about it with them up into high school. Okay. So by the time your child goes away or even chooses to stay closer to home, they're already rooted in wisdom and guidance and they make the right choice and decisions. Okay. So, like I said, just continue to be there for them and have those conversations early. Middle school is a great time to kind of go ahead and acclimate and show them how to be safe, how to know their surroundings, how when you're walking home from school, honey, don't be on your phone. Don't have earphones in your ear, right? Just telling them different types of things because there are people praying out here and people go missing every single day, especially if you're a woman. Okay. So just giving them that wisdom can literally save their lives. So, and then here's another thing. So when your child steps onto a college campus, it becomes a real test of whether they are grounded in the foundation that you have laid as a parent. Okay. It's one thing to know what's right when they're under your roof, right? But it's another thing to know if they're doing the right thing if they're around their peers. That's how you know that if your parenting is on point. Okay. There's one thing for them to be all, like a little angel in front of in front of you and under your household. But then when they leave, are they still being leaders when they leave based off of the principles you taught them? Or are they kind of just like, I'm just going to toss that aside and just do what I want to do and follow my peers. Okay. And you want to establish that groundwork so that your child is very strong minded. They're strong in their morals. They're strong in their character. And then when they get to campus, it becomes a lot better for them as far as the type of person that, you pray that they become. So, that was my little blurb or whatever as far as college violence. So here are 7 ways parents can help their child stay safe on campus. So we talked about the different ways that most children are actually victims when it comes to certain things, right? When it comes to campus violence. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the 7 ways parents can help their child stay safe on campus. So what can we do as parents to protect our children? And here are 7 practical steps. Number 1, research the school safety plan. Every school has a safety plan. It is actually part of their law, especially if they're a public school, private school, doesn't matter. They have a safety plan. So don't just look at the numbers. Look at how they handle incidents. Okay? Look at the different incidents and then look at how they handle incidents. Then also, if you can, go ahead and go a step further, visit the campus and go ahead and start talking to people different faculty or even different students and ask them, okay, so how do you guys feel safe on campus? Have you heard anything? Especially someone who's gone to, maybe it's their sophomore year, their junior year, they're gonna know, oh yeah, like we definitely have, hazing issues here, or we definitely have this. So kind of try to gauge the faculty members and the students. Sometimes, the faculty might not, they want you to come there. They want your money low key. So you really want to be asking people that pay. So that's the students. Okay. And you want to ask people that, are going to give you the truth as well. So you can also gauge that. But okay, research the school safety plan and talk to people on campus about the climate. Do they feel safe? Can you walk around at night? Have you heard of any stories lately? Things like that. And don't assume, it's another thing that I think a lot of parents, they assume that, oh, I'm paying all this money for a private school, my child is definitely going to be safe. Things happen at private schools as well, private colleges. Things happen at community colleges. Just be aware. And also, you might even, just to make sure that your child is safe and make sure that they're getting acclimated to the college way of life, you might just be like, you know what, honey, like, things have been really crazy. I know you really want to go to that university, but let's see how you do in community college first, okay? And at least you'll be close to home. At least you don't have, you'll do your classes, come home, work, whatever the case may be. I'll support you. But that might be a better choice than your child, you're in, I don't know, South Carolina. You live in South Carolina and your child just decide to go away in California, something goes down. You have no way to get to your child. You know what I'm saying? And you have to just kind of think about those type of things as well, outside of just the campus itself. Sometimes you have to kind of think about proximity, think about, okay, if something does go down, if something happens, how can I really help my child? Okay. So encourage your child to use campus safety resources. So like escort service, they have escort services, they have blue light systems or emergency apps. Okay. And I love a good emergency app. A lot of when I was teaching elementary school, we had emergency apps. So we had to do lockdowns, whatever the case may be. As long as we had our phone, we could communicate with other people through a one app, and we can kind of tell like, okay, what do we need to do next and things like that. And people could communicate. A lot of campuses have that now as well. So that is very important. So please make sure that you are doing that due diligence as well when it comes to campus safety. Escort services, yes, your child can be, say for example, they're taking night classes. They have escort services that will escort your child to their designated car, right? Blue light systems, etc. These show, okay, yes, it shows to the parent and it shows to the student, to the college student, that we care about safety when they have these type of things in place. And if these things are in place, that is a super wow, great job campus. Okay. So yes, so number one, research the school safety plan. Number two, encourage your child to use campus safety resources. Okay. Number three, teach situational awareness. I feel like this is another thing, especially if your child is just not, you should be teaching situational awareness as soon as they're 1, 2, 3. Okay, like I even have conversations about stranger danger, don't touch, etc. All that should be talked about through the whole time. Okay, teach situational awareness. So remind them to trust their instincts, avoid risky environments, and stay alert. So if they're walking home from campus, take the earbuds out. Don't have your phone out. Make sure you stay in a group. If you're going to go to an event, make sure you're going to an event with a group. Use a bus over a Uber if you can. If you are going to take a Uber, you need to make sure you have a person with you when you're taking an Uber. Things like that, okay? And especially nowadays, unfortunately, I'm saying Uber because there's been a lot of incidents where I would say trafficking, SMEX trafficking rings, they will actually, act like they're Ubers or whatever the case may be, or get their Uber and they try to like trap women. I've seen it on TikTok. Go down the rabbit hole on TikTok, guys. If you want to hear about some stories about campuses and things like that, that's the place to go. But they'll be part of a trafficking ring, and they will literally just be waiting for women to come in through the Uber by themselves. So make sure, even in your Uber, you shouldn't be looking at your phone or having things in your ear. You should be verifying that the person that's driving you is the person on the app. And then now they have it so that you can actually be on the phone with the actual Uber company, or you can actually track where you're going with that person to make sure that you're safe. Okay. So do these things. Try not to be out late. I know a lot of times this is the type to be social in the nightlife and stuff. But honestly, especially when it comes to essaying in college and universities, another big reason when I was researching that a lot of women become victims is because they are being roofied, either through touch, through the powders, or through their drinks, and then they're being taken advantage of. And a lot of times it's happening at these parties, unfortunately. So it's like, is it really worth going to a party or a night event if these things are most likely gonna happen? You really have to trust the people around you. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Like I said, I gave you the stats earlier, 1 in 4 women are essayed at a university, 25%. That's super high. So yeah, just be aware of your surroundings and trust your instincts. If something's off, you're going out on a lunch date with a guy and all of a sudden you just feel something rumbling in your stomach, you feel very nervous all of a sudden, trust that instinct, trust your discernment, right? And for us parents, continue to teach situational awareness, again, from honestly infancy all the way up until they're mid-adults. I'm talking like 25, 26, honestly. Just continue to talk about it so that they're aware. And let them know about all these different scams that they're trying to prey on people when it comes to like campuses and things like that. All right, number 4, you're going to set boundaries in relationships. So you're going to talk about healthy versus unhealthy dynamics. Okay, so what does a healthy relationship look like? How do I know this person really loves me? They're going to respect me. They're going to talk kindly to me. If we come to a disagreement, we're just going to talk about it. It's not going to be all this. And also, I think you need to not just go into physical domestic, what a physical unhealthy dynamic looks like, emotional unhealthy dynamic, which can be just as dangerous, and a spiritual unhealthy dynamic, right? Does this person really match your character and your morals and stuff that you're in a relationship with? All these things you need to be drilling into your kids until they kind of understand, which again, I think that starts in, like, I would say late elementary, middle school, if you ask me. I feel like the earlier the better, especially since our world with the technology and stuff, kids are growing up so fast and they're learning about different things from their friends and cousins and stuff. So you need to beat all of these things to the punch, and I feel like the earlier the better, honestly. As soon as they can comprehend certain things, or as soon as they start asking questions, you need to have the answer. And I know that there's a lot of books out there as well. I'm probably going to do a couple more videos about resources to kind of have these conversations, because I know sometimes they can be uncomfortable. But it's like, do you want to tell your kids about the different things of the world and so forth, and how the world works and how some things are evil and things like that? Or do you want their peers to be like, oh yeah, that's not too bad, or yeah, you can sleep with this person, and that you don't want that, right? You want to be the first person of information for your kids. So honestly, the earlier the better. Set boundaries in a relationship. What does a healthy relationship look like? Do I even need to be in a relationship if I'm in college? Have those conversations. I mean, do we? You know what I'm saying? If you're there for school, do you really have time to be doing all that, right? And if you are gonna be in a relationship, make sure it's with somebody so that you're equally yoked with. Okay, especially my Christians out there, like people that okay, they don't just say they love God just so they can like hang out with you, right? But they actually show it, right? They're treating you kindly. They are, basically praying with you, things like that. And there's other. I guess I have a whole nother video about that. But yes. Set boundaries in a relationship. What is a healthy dynamic relationship looks like, and what does an unhealthy dynamic relationship look like? And to me, I'm going to teach my kids, you should be dating to marry. So if they're not dating to marry, there's no reason for you to be talking to me. You know what I'm saying? There's just no reason, right? But you have your own way of going about that type of thing, right? And whatever you feel or is right as far as your family dynamics and what you have instilled in your child, your morals, etc., you need to let them know ASAP and as soon as possible. All right. Number 5, you're going to discuss digital safety. This is also a big thing, right? This is often the playground of stalking and people who like to harass people online, right? So you're going to talk about digital safety, what that looks like, that when they take that picture, remember, it could literally be online for the rest of their lives. If you share a personal photo, whatever the case may be, it could be on the internet and get into anyone's hands, honestly. Do not trust people in that way. So discussing digital safety, what does that look like? What does that look like according to your morals and your standards? And just teaching your young women and young men standards. I think that's definitely not taught nowadays as much as we hope it would be taught, or we would have like a different type of society. But just showing them, hey, like, you don't have to do things just because someone says, hey, I want you to do this, or I don't like you or something like that, doesn't mean you have to do it, right? So discussing digital safety, what to do if they are in a stalker situation, how to get out of it, who to contact, right? All these other things. But yeah, that's kind of straightforward. Digital safety is very key. Social media, etc. Number 6, stay in ongoing communication. A lot of times, especially when it comes to like domestic violence and stalking situations and so forth, and just all these different types of things that we've talked about, honestly, if you are constantly communicating with your child, these things should dwindle down significantly, because they know that there's someone else. They know that the predators, and also your child knows that, hey, at the end of the day, I know if something were to go down, mom and dad got my back, right? They're talking to me every day. I'm giving them an update. And if they're not contacting you, be like, hey, hun, like, just for safety, I need for you to kind of check in with me. You know what I'm saying? I need for you to let me know. If you got to do, air tags, whatever you need to do to keep each other safe and to keep each other secure, that's what you need to be doing with your child. Okay, so staying in ongoing communication. Regular check-ins make it easier for them to bring up concerns. Okay, so the more and more you're talking with them, the more and more they're like, okay, thank goodness. So if something does go down, or if I feel uncomfortable, whatever it can be, I can always run it past my mom or run it past my dad or both, and then figure it out from there. Okay. Remember, you are the parent, you are the one that they're going to go to, especially if you've already established a great relationship and for them to trust in you in general. Prayerfully, they will go to you about any concerns or anything like that so that you will be aware, and then you can figure out what you need to do to make sure that your child is safe. Okay. And then last but not least, number 7, model and encourage grounded faith and values, because when challenges arise, these foundations can make all the difference. Okay. At the end of the day, this is about protecting your kids, right? And at the end of the day, faith is something that is going to honestly keep them away from a lot of things that we're probably talking about here, right? So if their faith is grounded and their values are grounded, they're not probably going to be too much interested. They might, they might be curious where kids may be, but they're not going to go crazy when it comes to being on campus and stuff like that prayerfully, right? Model and encourage grounded in values. And then also when it comes to these biblical truths, of course, always going back to the Bible, make sure your kids know that that's where to get their information from is the Bible, especially if you are a Christian and so forth and a believer. But also like prayer, right? Connecting with the right friends, connecting with people that's really going to help them in their walk, maybe connect with an online group, with a faith group that is going to make their faith stronger on campus. These things are going to protect them. And I know the world is probably like, oh, you guys are being helicopter parents. Sure are, because I prefer to be a helicopter parent than just let my child out there and then all of a sudden they out there getting something crazy. Okay. And end up making crazy decisions that can definitely tarnish and ruin their lives in some cases. There's been a lot of cases where people go to college and they become drug addicts, or they become alcoholics, or they flunk out of school and so forth. And then all of a sudden, what do they got going for themselves? Like sitting on mom and dad's couch, not doing anything. So it's like there's so many things, and it's very important to be real and to be upfront, even when the world tells us that we don't have to do that, right? And that certain things are okay and things like that. So yes, model and encourage grounded faith and values. And again, that starts when they're babies, right? The Bible verse, they didn't study those Bible verses for nothing, right? You didn't teach them the principles of God for nothing, right? You taught them that because you're like, that one day, we're teaching them that because we know one day they're not going to be under our roof anymore, or under our care, or whatever the case may be, however life goes. So if they're grounded in that faith and those values, you teach them, okay, this is what we believe about this moral issue, but this is what we believe about relationship, dating. These are some of the things in the world that are just tragic, which is, SA assault and hazing and just breaking it all down. Don't sugarcoat nothing. And, don't be scared to tell them about what's really going on in this world, so that they're very informed and that they're not shocked or surprised. They shouldn't, when they get to college, they shouldn't be shocked or surprised by anything that they see, honestly, because you've already had the conversation, right? You've already been like, okay, here's a scenario. You're at a party, or you decide to go to a party with somebody, someone gives you a drink. You don't know the person. What do you do? They should be like, oh no, I'm not taking the drink. And I'm going to go ahead and find my friends and be like, okay, you feel uncomfortable, hanging out with a certain person by yourself. Maybe they're of the opposite sex, or a case may be, they're trying to hang it. You leave, right? You just kind of just test them with different scenarios on how they would react. And, of course, grounded in the word of God and faith and so forth, because at the end of the day, guess what? When you're not available, the word of God is available. Prayer is available. And of course, those other tight-knit friends, hopefully, that they have that have similar values, and that's also going to be important in their lives, right? And picking the right friends and knowing how to pick the right friends. Okay? So, again, I'm going to go ahead and do a little recap. What are the 7 ways parents can help their child stay safe on campus? Number 1, research the school safety plan. Number 2, encourage your child to use campus safety resources. Number 3, teach situational awareness. Number 4, set boundaries in relationships. Number 5, discuss digital safety. Number 6, stay in ongoing communication. And number 7, model and encourage faith and values. Okay? So, all right. So when your child steps onto I've already kind of talked about that. Sorry, y'all. I scrolled up. All right. So here's in closing. So at the end of the day, college should be a place of learning, growth, and community, not fear. But the reality is our kids are stepping in a world that is not always safe. And that's why as parents, we must stay engaged, continue guiding, and never stop speaking truth into their lives. Okay, because there's a lot of people going to be speaking a lot of lies and so forth into their lives, but we need to speak to them truth, and we need to have them prepared. So whether your child chooses to attend a big university, stay at a local community college, or even remain at home, your role as a parent and protector never ends. I'm saying that if you're a parent, your job being a parent, it never ends. Never, ever, ever. I don't care what society says. 18, oh, you're done. You can hang it out. They all on their own. No, it never ends. And then you also have to be there for the grandchildren when that comes. But we'll talk about that later. When they get married and stuff like that. So, because the goal isn't just to send our kids to college. The goal is to raise them to be safe, wise, and grounded leaders in every environment they step into. So, if you'd like to ask the conversation, please comment below. How do you feel about the heightened campus environment? And what steps will you be taking to prepare your kids for the uncertain world, especially those who may be heading to college? So what are you doing? What are you doing to keep your child safe? Are there other things that maybe I didn't hit on this? Do you have a personal story on how it's important to keep your child safe, etc.? I would love to hear that in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed these conversations or conversations like this, or you want to help your child thrive in school, homeschool or beyond, please like, share, and subscribe. So I thank you guys for this time. I appreciate you guys being here and listening to this. If you've listened all the way through, thank you so much. And of course, if you enjoy conversations like this, I will be going live about once every few weeks or so, going over social topics, and I'll also start doing parent Q&As as I push out more videos. Okay, because I'm pushing out I'm already working. I'm pushing out quite a bit of homeschool content and teaching content as far as how you as parents can educate your child in a better way. So I'm super excited to be pushing that out. So once I start pushing that out, I'll go ahead and start doing these lives of not just social issues, but also be answering any questions that you guys may have that I'm not able to maybe answer in some of the videos, and then we can kind of talk about it on this type of platform. But thank you so much for your time, and remember, stay safe out there, and remember, continue to learn, grow, and be great. All right. God bless. And I will see you guys the next time. Bye-bye.